What's up, guys? We're going to do another kind of deep dive here. I've talked about the retailer side, I've talked some distribution, I talk a lot about the brand side of the industry, but one of the areas that I've kind of not touched a lot on is kind of the contract manufacturing side. And within the kind of functional food, beverage, and nutritional supplement industry, contract manufacturers play a huge role in kind of the supply chain ecosystem. And that's because most brands that are in those spaces are kind of marketing companies that just so happen to sell a product. So they don't own their own manufacturing. There are a few brands that obviously do, but the vast majority of the brands within the industry do not own their own manufacturing. So they have to lean on a contract manufacturer for that part of their business. Now, what I kind of wanted to talk about here was what I kind of see as like a divide that's kind of happening in this part of kind of the industry ecosystem. Obviously, you guys know, with just kind of like the increased competition from the brand side, you have a lot of new entrants that are coming into the market. This is primarily because of just the internet and just how low barriers of entry have kind of come out there from like the distribution side. You could just naturally just sell direct through the internet now. And the other low barrier of entry has been caused kind of from the contract manufacturing side. There's been a lot of kind of new entrants as well on the contract manufacturing side to kind of meet a lot of these new, smaller brands that are coming into the market. And that's allowing a lot of these kind of small brands that are kind of fragmenting the market to do manufacturing runs at a much smaller quantity and kind of driving costs, startup costs down to kind of get into the market. Contract manufacturers have been kind of quick to open. I can't remember the last time I kind of looked, but I believe there's been a massive amount of contract manufacturers, especially like the nutritional supplement space, that have kind of emerged in the last 5 to 10 years. That's all great and awesome, and that's, you know, that helps meet the need of all these new brand concepts that are coming out in the market. But what's ended up happening is like these contract manufacturers, though they start out fitting the needs of these small, fragmented, personalized or targeted type of brands, eventually they kind of move through the same business cycle that all of the other kind of contract manufacturers have went through. It's kind of a perpetuation of conventional thinking. The contract manufacturer is basically trying to go from, you know, as small runs as possible to as fast as they can get up to like a scaled, mass produced level where they can kind of demand a higher minimum quantity. That gives them the opportunity to also provide, you know, some other like value added pieces of the manufacturing process, but it ends up kind of deviating from where I believe kind of the product or brand side of the industry is actually going. Obviously, I can't fault contract manufacturers for trying to grow as quick as possible and try to get up to that mass production, scaled type of level. But what ends up happening is as more and more of these contract manufacturers shift out of small manufacturing runs and helping kind of fragmented, digitally native type of brands start up and kind of get their brands going, these contract manufacturers end up growing at a pace that puts such a high minimum order quantity in place that essentially commoditizes the industry. If you have to buy 2, 3, 10, 20, 30, 50,000 units of a certain product, but you are, you know, only digital, you're just starting up, you're not looking to have to fill a bunch of shelf space and a bunch of different things like that. You don't need to have that commoditization of kind of your products at the start, or even ever if you kind of use a strategy to shorten your supply chain. On the flip side, with just kind of where the brand and just kind of where commerce is going, a lot of these brands are taking some small targeted niches, fragmentations of the market that they've been able to target through now social marketing and a lot of psychoanalytic type of marketing, and basically take pieces of kind of these bigger legacy or kind of mass brands. Those brands are essentially getting to an early phase of kind of like customization or personalization in the market. Right now, a consumer like myself, if I want to have a kind of a customized experience to myself, I have to kind of piecemeal a bunch of different digitally native products together to get kind of what I want. But in the future, these brands are going to want to shift to a pure customization, mass customization, or a personalized manufacturing relationship. And what ends up happening, because that's where kind of the market's going, and that's where kind of buyers are at. I think millennials are kind of the biggest personalizers of them all. If you look at multiple different industries like fashion, you see a lot of customization, you see a lot of individuality, a lot of people looking to kind of be creators in their own sense. And as brand owners, you can feel this if you just open up your kind of DMs on your corporate social media. You see a variety of different kind of consumers asking questions or sharing their opinions about your product in a way that makes them kind of the lines blur between consumer and creator. They believe that their opinion is just as important as yours when creating things, and basically giving you a peek into the world that's going to be mass customization in the future of products. And this is all products. I've shared my thoughts a little bit here on my channel about personalized nutrition, personalized health, just kind of where I think the nutritional supplement and kind of food and beverage industries are eventually going to have to go to compete long term. What is happening at this point, this kind of conflict in the market, you have the contract manufacturers that are looking to go full mass production, and the buyers and the brands that are reacting to the buyers are trying to push towards like mass customization. Instead of like a small contract manufacturer investing in kind of digital manufacturing, additive manufacturing, a lot of different things to kind of help eliminate costs through technology and not through kind of more massive mixers or other type of equipment that just kind of increases the quantity to get to this mass production pace. You don't see the manufacturers that are doing the opposite, where kind of the industry's going. And I had a few conversations with a few contract manufacturers at the Mr. Olympia, also a couple raw material suppliers. The conversations we kind of always surrounded was this point that I was talking about, how there seems to be a deviation from where the market and where the consumers want products to go at, consumer packaged goods products to go at, and the manufacturers wanting to get as quickly as possible to this mass production phase that's been popularized over the last half century. And I think the change or the lack of change is basically it's just kind of being stuck within conventional wisdom and just having a fear of change. You see these game plans, and you see these other contract manufacturers doing extremely well, kind of getting as fast as possible to this mass production phase. And you think, if you're a small contract manufacturer, you think, hey, I need to get to that point as well. But what you don't see is that you're actually ultimately hurting yourself, because you're going to get up to a certain level. That certain level is only able to compete for the same select amount of business. That select amount of business is actually eroding right now, because a lot of like the big mass brands are actually losing small amounts of market share, and you're competing against a smaller piece of the pie instead of going after a growing piece of the pie. And I understand that there's probably a lot of kind of cost considerations and a bunch of other things that I'm not covering at a great length, but this is kind of just to bring up some more conversation around this whole topic. Maybe even some contract manufacturers would love to get on camera with me and kind of do an interview style type of video. But I know what the other side of kind of the coin is going to say. Consumers are demanding lower cost products. Even at kind of the smaller fragmented digitally native brands are asking for similar pricing to these kind of mass brands. Everybody's trying to drive the price down, and that's primarily because we, as Americans, we're used to getting a lot of like cheap goods and things from this kind of globalization effect and China and Asia, and just we've gotten spoiled. And I think that consumers are basically, not willing to pay an extra premium for what they consider as dumb products, non-customized products. But all the kind of research out there actually says that consumers, especially millennials, are willing to pay more for a fully customized experience. The problem with this at this point is there's not a lot of data from like our particular kind of categories of CPG. So a lot of manufacturers are not willing to kind of invest in the future or kind of take the lead on and kind of position themselves as kind of a digital customization expert, because there's just not a lot of kind of proven examples out there for them to feel comfortable doing that. But what I'll say, kind of in closing here, is that as the world just becomes more and more competitive and margins keep kind of getting pressed down for very similar products, especially in the nutritional supplement space, where there's kind of the divide between people that believe the industry is moving to this like commoditization, or if there's still differentiation in the market available. I believe from like the product side right now, it's very tough to differentiate yourself. There are some different kind of outlier examples of kind of flavor, maybe some unique exclusive contracts with some ingredients, but the category of like nutritional supplements especially, it's just not happening on the product side. So brands are looking to differentiate themselves away from this commoditization in different ways. The tried and true way is always marketing, and that's through, especially now with targeted marketing and psychoanalytic type of marketing, you're able to kind of pinpoint your niche a lot easier. But even that at this point is getting overly crowded and complex. And you could see that with just a bunch of different metrics that you could see through kind of your digital marketing. So brands are trying, at least smart brands are trying to figure out, where do I differentiate now? I think some of the intelligent ones are looking at the supply chain and looking, how do I shorten this supply chain to meet the needs of kind of my digitally native or fragmented brand? Having more examples and variants in the market to kind of keep their mind share going and kind of keep relevancy in the market. Contract manufacturers need to start moving in that direction, because I don't think going in the direction of mass production as fast as possible is going to get you to the point of success like it did 25 years ago or 10 years ago even. And I'd also like to kind of throw out that contract manufacturers have just kind of changed the way that they make money as well. It's always kind of been just on the manufacturing side of things, sometimes adding some extra services, value add, that kind of things. But you're seeing a lot more contract manufacturers jump into actually competing against the brands that they're also producing. So contract manufacturers, seeing the writing on the walls of like their compressed margins because of the commoditization of the industry, they are trying to take a piece of kind of the brand side, competing, creating kind of private labels in a way, and try to move in the same direction as some of the retailers are doing to help their margin. Though I can't fault any of those contract manufacturers doing that. I think you have to make money the way you need to make money, but even that's just creating more and more noise for both their clients and themselves in the market, and it's basically just creating a kind of a perfect storm that's just circular at this point. So to get out of this kind of rat race, they need to kind of look at the customization route, or just looking at how do you digitally transform your manufacturing facility and your manufacturing processes to get to the point where you could still make a lot of money through this customization shift, and be kind of a first mover, because I guarantee people are going to be moving in that direction. If you guys have listened this long to me rant about this subject, make sure you guys are smashing the thumbs up button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you guys have not done that. That ensures you guys are getting all of my video content. And as always, I don't charge for any of this content, obviously. I just want to try to give as much value to my community as possible. In return, all I ask is that you tell a friend or tell a colleague so we can grow this community a little bit bigger and a little bit stronger. But I want to thank you guys for taking a little bit of time out of your day to listen to me talk again. and I'll see you guys on the next one.